Hello everyone and welcome to Tabletop Tea Time. This month we're talking small games. Games that are super portable or just really small and they don't take up much room on the shelf. My pick has to be Tussie Mussy. This is one of the wallet games, so you open it up and there are all the cards that you're going to be playing. Now, I've cheated a little bit because there's technically at least 2 expansions in this sort of wallet. That first of all, the game normally plays with multiple players and you're basically drafting these flowers that are going to score you points. They'll score you points depending on, most of the time, the other cards that you take with it, potentially when you've taken them and things like that. The expansions add a few little twists in. Well, one of them just adds in a new colour of flower that's going to get mixed in and scores in a new way. My favourite one, though, adds solo mode. And to be honest, it's a must-have expansion for Tussie Mussy, I think. I've probably played it as a solo puzzle 10 times more than I've actually played it as a normal game, and the fact that you can just store all of it just in one wallet, absolutely fantastic. Yes, there's a few more expansions that you might need a second one to go and get it so that all the cards can be kept nice and safe in this small, not even box, small wallet, but it's just a nice simple puzzle that when you're doing the solo game, you're actually choosing what card you're often giving to your opponent, the AI opponent, as well as what you're taking. So you've got like a double choice sometimes of, well, this card's good for me, but that card is fantastic for the opponent, and I need to score more than them, so I can't let them have that card. So you get these great choices as you're just trying to outscore that opponent. And they do have plenty of ways to score big, you've just got to score bigger. I do like the game as a sort of 2-player game. I think you can play it more than that, but I wouldn't bother. But solo is Tussie Mussy, or where Tussie Mussy shines. It's also from Elizabeth Hargrave, who you may know as the designer of Wingspan. So it's got a pretty good designer behind this little sort of pack of cards as well. Anyway, that's enough of me waffling on about a small game. Let's hand over to Evan to see what unique game he's picked this month that's also pretty small.
Hey everybody, I'm Evan, and today I'm going to show you a game that you have probably never heard of. So this is not that game. This is probably the biggest game in my collection, but since today we're talking about small games, I'm going to show you this one right here. It is called Yeti in the House. And as you can see, the size difference is massive. So let's go down to the table and I'll show you how it plays. So Yeti in the House is a tiny little game that comes in this little matchbox here. And it was put out by Itten Games. Itten you may know from things like Tokyo Highway and those other like games with nice wooden components. Inside you will find 4 components. A mountain, a footprint, another footprint, and a Yeti. Also, there's instructions that are in English and Japanese, I believe. So, here's the thing about this game. It is not played on a table. So let's go up to the wall, and I'll show you how it's actually played. So, a game of Yeti in the House is played by either 2 people or 2 teams. One team is playing the Search Squad, and the other team is playing the Yeti. So, first of all, what you do is the Search Squad takes the mountain and puts it somewhere in a single room. Yes, this game is played in one room of your house or one room, well, wherever, I guess, as long as it's a single room. So, they would take the mountain and put it somewhere in the house. And then they leave the room. So, and then the Yeti player, this is where the perspective is. So what happens is the Yeti player stands in this spot, and then usually if you're playing in a team, the other person will take the Yeti and the 2 footprints and hide them somewhere else in the room. So, but they have to be visible from the mountain. And then you have to take a picture of it, like with your phone or whatever, from the mountain spot, so that the Yeti is visible. Then you are allowed to manipulate that picture as much as you want to try to obscure its location. Because obviously, here I am in the game room. If I put it next to a specific game, well, all you'd have to do is find that game. So you can like make it black and white, which is what we usually do. Like add some grain, like blur it, whatever it is, as long as it is locatable. And then when you're also trying to hide the footprints, they're kind of just there to throw you off. So sometimes if there's a little bit of a white peeking behind an object, like in the room, you might think that's the Yeti. But the goal is to find the Yeti, and if they do find the Yeti, the search party wins. We have actually played this game in bedrooms. We've played it in our living room. We've played it in the kitchen. Because there's always going to be interesting hiding places in every spot of your room. So let's go back down to me sitting, and I will tell you what I think about this game. So there you have it. There's Yeti in the house. So to be completely honest, it does feel a little bit more like an activity than an actual game, but it is a very fun activity. Generally, when we play it, we split up into teams of 2, so like adult and a child on each team, and then that way it's a little more fun to kind of work together to try to point out where the Yeti is, and is that a footprint or is that the Yeti? Not really sure. This picture's not telling me very much. However, you would be surprised that based on these pictures, how often you can actually find where it is, especially if you know the room. Obviously, if you're playing in your own house, there's little telltale signs that that sometimes don't get like obscured enough. But that's a kind of part of the fun, right? So even if everyone finds the Yeti every single time, it's still just fun to play to try to do it, right? So I do recommend this game if you can find a copy, which brings me to the next question: where do I find a copy? I believe there's one for sale on the Board Game Geek Marketplace, but I think it's overpriced. And if you do a Google search, there are some sellers selling it in places that I don't know how reputable they are. But honestly, if you really wanted to, you could probably just like make this game yourself using other objects around your house. So yeah, well, that about wraps it up this week. Thank you so much for joining me on the Tea Time. And, I guess we'll see you next month. In the meantime, enjoy that tea. See you, everybody.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of need to source Yeti in the house. It seems like a little sort of fun thing. I don't care that it's more of an activity than a game, so's Micro Macro, and I love that. If it's fun, right? Anyway, let's now have a look at a bit of a sneak peek of an interview that I did with Bruno Feduti about his upcoming game, Six Suspects. Now, the full interview is going to be on the channel next week, but let's have a little listen in and see what he would give as advice to someone that's designing their very first board game.
I have 2 advice for young game designer. The first is to keep your day job, because designing games you can make money with it, but you're never sure. And anyway, designing board games doesn't take that much time. And the second one is try to keep it simple, or to make it simple if it starts complex. My first game designs 40 years ago were far more complex than what I am doing now. And really the simplest games are the most satisfying for the designers, because when you look at them, you say, okay, it's something obvious, it's something simple, and I had this idea. When it's something complex with tons of mechanics one over the other, it looks like work. Like, okay, I spend hours and hours and hours fine-tuning it. It's not that satisfying.
And well, that wraps up Tabletop Tea Time this month. I hope you've enjoyed. Please go and check out Evan's channel. The link to his channel will be in the description box down below. So go and share the love by subscribing over there as well as on this channel. And that interview with Bruno about six suspects, that's going to be the full thing. It's going to be live on the channel on Monday. So please do subscribe, come back for that, because that's a game I'm really excited about, and it was really awesome actually being able to interview him as well. And until next month, hope you've enjoyed your tea time and have a brilliant month gaming.